Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I apologize for the long delay in uploading videos. I've been busy with work, school, and personal reasons, but I can promise you that this channel will go back to consistent uploads starting with this video. Now, with that out of the way, the topic of today's video is going to be on chest rigs. Now, what is a chest rig? Well, a chest rig is a piece of tactical gear that can be worn on your chest to hold any equipment and essentials that you will need, and it's made of lighter materials than a plate carrier. Now, some of you might ask, why a chest rig over a plate carrier? Well, say you're dropped off at point A, and point B is about five clicks that way, over the roughest terrain you could possibly imagine. Now, you're going to have a hard time regardless, but you will have a harder time if you're wearing a plate carrier or any form of ballistic armor with a rucksack, as opposed to wearing just a chest rig and a rucksack. So it's lighter and it's very much more maneuverable, sans the protection of a plate carrier. Now, it's also noted that it's more comfortable to wear with a rucksack. You can get either a Y harness or an H harness. I prefer either. Some people prefer the H harness over the Y due to it being just a tad bit easier to wear any sort of pack, and it's more comfortable and supports weight better. But that's a later topic for another discussion. And it can also be a part of a quick don and quick doff kit, as you just need to slip it on over your head and shoulders as opposed to having to fumble with Velcro on your Super Gucci plate carrier. And another great thing about chest rigs is that they're much cheaper than plate carriers because they lack the ability to hold armor. So the origins of the chest rig date back to around World War I. British grenadiers would wear these canvas flaps essentially that held 10 grenades, because while today's modern troops may only carry 1 or 2 grenades at the most, trench warfare was rampant at that time, and the British and other forces needed those grenades to clear trenches and save the lives of friendly forces. So the canvas rig was kind of a mainstay until they came back with a leather sort of vest called the battle jerkin, and what that was used for was both ammunition, mostly for the Sten gun, and grenades as well as other essentials. The Americans also had their own sort of quasi-chest rigs, and those were mainly for the Thompson submachine gun and the bar, just to save them the hassle of mounting everything on their belts. The Italians used the samurai vest, which was more akin to a modern chest rig and was used by the 185th Parachute Division, but in all honesty, I'm very surprised that it was the Chinese who worked on the Eastern Front, and they wore a sort of rig on their bodies with a rear belt and a set of suspenders. Now, when it came time to modernize, they would later go on to make the first modern chest rig for the SKS rifle. And when the AK rolled around, they just simply had to adapt those magazine pouches, as opposed to the West, who was still fumbling around with belt-mounted gear at the time. The chest rig was first introduced to the West, however, in the Rhodesian Bush War, where Rhodesians were very intrigued by the Chinese-made rigs that they saw being used there. So what they did was they took those rigs, they took inspiration from them, and they began creating what was commonly known as the Rhodesian bush rig, which is sort of a myth. I'll leave you guys to banter it out in the comments below, but personally I believe it's a myth and that no one really came up for it in particular. It was just suddenly there, and it was dubbed the Rhodesian bush rig at the time. But moving on to more modern times, in 1979 the Russians used the Litchik chest rig, which was designed for the AK-74 and was primarily used by Spetsnaz during the invasion of Afghanistan. And the British came around with what was known as the Arctis 42 chest rig, which was made by a former Marine commando. And the chest rig that I'm talking about had 3 magazine pouches in the front, and it also had 2 larger pouches on the side for sustainment or extra gear. Moving on into GWOT, the chest rig became more common. Now, Rangers would go into battle wearing the Tactical Tailor rack, or LBVs over their IBAs. If you don't know who Tactical Tailor is, they've been making gear for quite some time now. I would definitely recommend looking them up. They're still a solid company after a very long time of making great products. But they would wear those vests over their ballistic armor because at the time, mounting any sort of gear on armor that was issued was virtually impossible. And chest rigs began to fall out of favor when the IOTV, or Improved Outer Tactical Vest, came along, and that offered MOLLE mounting, MOLLE standing for Modular Lightweight Load-Bearing Equipment. Now, the Army and the Marines both issue their own versions of chest rigs. The Army has the TAPS, or Tactical Assault Panel System, which is what my chest rig is currently. It's a modified TAPS. And the USMC has their own version that this is essentially called the USMC chest rig. And both were adopted due to a need for more mounting room because troops, for whatever reason, were already taking up too much space with their own issued body armor. So when it comes to how my rig is set up, I run it just a tad bit low for a chest rig. I blame it on the straps that come with it that make the TAPS hang just a tad bit lower than I'd like to admit. But it's a relatively simple setup as far as things go. If need be, I can add or unadd different pouches, different equipment, depending on the situation or the mission. So right now I kind of have it as a general purpose rig. I carry 6 magazines, so I have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The front 4 I have slightly bastardized, so I took the flaps and replaced them with these little bungee pull tabs, and those make for more QD mag pouches. I hold an extra one here in the traditional flat pouch, and I hold a 6th in an Eagle Industries double mag pouch. I can carry 7 on the rig if need be, but I normally like to carry 6 in some sort of rig and then 1 in the gun, so that still pluses me up to a combat load. So from left to right, I have a buck knife, and this is normally used for whatever situation calls for a sharp object. It's great. I've spray painted the Kydex sheath for it tan so that it blends in just a tad bit more. Here I have an Eagle Industries flashbang pouch, and depending on what I'm doing, I can carry MS-2000 strobes if need be, or I can carry stuff for general purpose. So I have a Leatherman right now, chapstick, because getting chap lip sucks out there, I won't lie. And I also have a lighter as well. In this middle, I just have a GP pouch from Condor. In the front flap, I have a protractor. Since you never know when you might need one for navigation, I have a calculator, just in case math needs to be applied to certain situations, and I also have a compass, which is key. In this back compartment, I have ibuprofen, because I like to not be in pain when I'm conducting missions, thank you. I have chem lights, just in case I need to mark an area. And I have map markers, because if you gotta have a compass and a protractor, you might as well bring map markers along. And then this Eagle Industries double mag pouch, I can use to carry 2 magazines, or I can stick my phone in there, or another MS-2000 strobe if need be. But one of the main things that you'll realize is that I've kept the sides mostly free. And why I keep those free is so I can mount extra pouches on there. So I can put an IFAK on this side, or say a canteen pouch on this side, if need be. But right now this is pretty minimalist as far as things go. But I recommend keeping your sides open for whatever you might need. Additionally, for most of my first line gear, I almost always carry a tourniquet. So again, the venerable CAT tourniquet, or combat application tourniquet, makes an appearance. What I like most about the TAPS is that it has integrated magazine, or not magazine pouches I should say, but integrated general purpose pouches inside. So in this flap here, I carry first aid. So here's gauze, and I keep an emergency blanket in there, drip drop, a cravat if need be. And in the center pouch, I like to carry my venerable Write in the Rain notebook. And then again, the right cell I usually keep free for whatever else I might need. So it pays to not use all of your real estate on your gear right off the rip, and instead find out what you need first, find out those essentials, and then add on your extra gear if need be. But this rig is by far one of the most simple. Is it the best rig? No. Could it be better? Yes. And I promise you that there are going to be different videos on chest rigs in the near future when I get my hands on some more high-tier equipment. But as of right now, this thing has served me well. It's been through a lot of wear and tear. I wouldn't personally drop it for anything, and you can find used TAPS rigs at surplus stores for pretty cheap, or Facebook Marketplace even. And you can rig those out however you want. I know Spirit of Systems sells a specific rig for the taps that allows you to turn it into a more contemporary chest rig with an H harness and whatnot. But this is the rig that I have. Is it subject to change? Yes, so please stay tuned for that in the future. Just like all the other equipment I talk about on this channel, this gear is pretty freaking sick, but it's useless if you don't go out and train in it. So this is a budget rig at best, but it's been through a solid amount of wear and tear, and I guarantee you that I will probably be better than somebody who's had a Gucci'd out chest rig but never used it in any sort of situation. So get out there, get with your friends, get with your neighbors, go out and train. It might suck in the moment, but you'll be grateful for it regardless. Now that's all I got. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.